Welcome to the EZCODE Projects Series toaster video number 3. In this video, we'll add a way to see what a piece of bread will look like as we heat it up. If you have not done so already, please complete the previous EZCODE Projects Toaster Series videos. Those of you that have done so may continue. Just a wonderful reminder that all you have to do is type as I do. Just pause the video or slow down the speed when needed to catch up. Understanding comes later. Let's begin. Let's open the project directory in VS Code. Here we go. We got the VS Code, we got the Explorer, we open the folder, and we have to follow where we keep everything. So if you keep it here, we want the toaster directory. Let's open it. And here we go. I'm going to close that out. And we're going to open the view HTML file. So let's go ahead and open that one. And I'm just going to close out my Explorer here and think about now what we want to do is add toast. So how are we going to do this? How are we going to add a piece of toast? So let's keep things simple and say a piece of toast comes out of the toaster every time we push the toaster lever down, or at least when it comes back up again. And we'll need a place to view the toast after it comes out of the toaster. So let's add an HTML div to hold our toast. So this isn't going to go in the toaster, but it is going to go in our view container. So let's just go ahead and outside of toaster. So I click up here where it started and I can see where it stops. And all we're going to do is add a little bit of line there. And what are we going to do? We're going to, in this case, we're going to give an ID because we need to get a handle on it. And that's pretty much all we have to do here. Now we have a div that we can grab with our ID handle and we can stuff things into it. We don't have to open it up. We don't have to do anything. We can do it all through the programming. So let's go ahead and we're going to save our work here. And let's open up our code.js file. So I had my Explorer window closed. That's opened up again. I'm going to close that back out. And let's add some logic to connect our toast output. So let's create a new function below our toggle function. So we're going to go down here and you know what? We have toggle and then we have set heat. Set heat's used really close to here. So let's just go below set heat as well. Okay, so we're just going to make a little room here. And how do we start a function? Always the same function. And we're going to call it by its name. So we're going to name it toasted. And then we're going to do the open parentheses and then open curly braces. That's it. That's how you make a function. And what you do in the function, that's up to you. But you can see how easy it is to create a function. Now, do you remember what we did before at the top of this file? I'm just going to scroll up here quick. This is how we got the hooks. We're going to do that same thing. In fact, while I'm up here, I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to grab that and I'm going to copy it and stick it down here. And instead of calling it lever, I'm just going to call it output and document get element by ID. Well, it's not that. If you remember what it was toasted. Okay, so now we have the div, so that's something. Now we need to make the toast. So here we go. We're going to make something called toast equals, and guess what we're going to do? Document doesn't just get stuff. It makes stuff. This is super powerful right here. Create element, except for that's a capital. Create element, and we can say what element we want. I mean, most of the time so far we've used divs, but you can create inputs, you can create anything you want, and then you can declare the properties just like we did in HTML here. You don't have to do it here in HTML, you can do it right here in the programming code. And what we're going to do is we're going to make a div. So now, what did we do? We made the same div that we did here. We just don't have an ID on it. Just want to show, that's all we're making. So this is now a div. Magic. So now we're going to add some things to this piece of toast. And we're going to say, you know what, toast? It has properties. I didn't give them these properties. This is already given to us by the browser. And style is one of them. So whatever was returned from here, it has something called style. And then we can dig into that and we can say background color. So there is a way to do this. You know, in CSS we normally do it like this, background color. But JavaScript doesn't like hyphens, so we can't use hyphens in our words like this unless we did it. There's a special way we could do it like this if we made it a string, but this isn't much fun to look at and read. So what we can also do is the JavaScript or browser also helped us out and said, you know what, whenever there's a hyphen, we're going to capitalize. So we're going to have what's called, I believe it's called camel case. Now I'm forgetting which ones it is. Or is this snake case? And either way, we're going to start lowercase and we're going to get capital here. So we're going to say toast style background color. And now we can give it a value as a string that we would normally do in CSS without the string portion of it. And we're going to say, we're just going to type in here RGB with the parentheses, and in the parentheses we're going to have 0 space 0 space 0 space / the divide symbol, and we're going to say 1. So we're just going to say RGB, red, green, blue. Our values are going to be 0 for each one of them, and really this is just the opacity setting, and we're going to say 1, which is full opacity, or full not opacity. Do not be opaque. So we'll say we're going to use this value, and you're going to see later on, instead of just saying like a color, because we want to vary that color over time, but we're not there yet. So we're just going to go ahead and leave it just like this. And then the next step is that we're going to add this toasted function, which I've already done right up here. You're going to add the toasted function into the toggle right inside the set timeout, which is the end of the cycle for the heater. So that's when we're going to call toasted. So if you can just type this in right here, right above the clear timeout. And now we'll go ahead and save our file. And then we'll just head on over to the browser and we'll see what we did. We'll open up the browser. We'll open up the view HTML file in our projects. There it is. Open. Okay, I'm always going to open up the console log to make sure we didn't break anything when we run it. But also, I'm curious, this is our div right here, what's going to go on. So we're going to go ahead and let's just go ahead and add a couple toasts. I don't know if you saw that or not, but this arrow popped up because now it had some children inside of it. So we did get 3 children inside, and we can see that we can't see them, but they do have the background color assigned. Great. And where are they? So we did press the lever, and we know that we can see the back. We know they're showing up, but it's because just like a balloon, we need to inflate our toast div to take up space. So select one of the new divs that we have there and give it a width and height of 100 px and see what happens. So let's go in here and say 100 px, 100 px, and then boom, hey, we can see it now. So we see that we did get a toast. It's just not blown up yet. So let's return to our project, and we're going to open up the style CSS. So let's go over here and we'll say, all right, open up the style CSS, close that back out. Okay, and we're going to add our style to our toasted and toast. So note that the toasted is outside of, or a sibling of, the toaster div. So we're not going to put it in the toaster. So let's select this and we'll scroll all the way down to where our toaster ends. And let's make a new space here. And let's start our CSS by first calling the ID of our toasted div by placing a hash. So in this case, we are going to use the hash, and this is for IDs, right? This is for classes, this is for IDs. And we're really just going to have one toasted. And now you get a chance to use, this is just for CSS. This means ID. And so we have toasted. By placing the hash in front of it, we can assign a CSS value, and we'll add some variables to our CSS as well, just in case we want to change dimensions of the toast. So the toasted, that's the container div. How do we want the layout to be handled? So display flex is automatically a row, so that's good. They'll just kind of line up next to each other. And let's give it some padding, top of 10px, and we'll get some padding on the bottom of 10px. And now we're going to open up the space, and we know it's going to have a bunch of divs in there, so all we have to say is div, not what's going on here. Oops. Let me make sure I can get mine right here. This is what we need to do. We got a div with the open hash marks, and we're going to say width is, and in this case we're going to call out our var, and we're going to say toast, which doesn't exist yet, but we're going to add them in a little bit. We're going to say toast width, and we're going to say height, and that's var toast height. And then we got, let's make our toast, it's a little bit sharp. Toast is usually kind of has a radius around it, so we'll say 6px, and let's just remember our r's there, border radius, that looks better, and we're going to give a margin. Actually, we're going to give a margin right, 10px, and a margin bottom of 10px. Okay, so we have some things here. This is the toast. This is the toasted container. We added 2 toast width and toast height. So let's go to the top of our root. So we're just going to scroll up at the top here. If you remember, we had a bunch of things in here. So let's just keep things, I like to keep a little space in between what's going on here, and we'll just add the toast below here, and we'll say toast width, and what's our toast width going to be? Let's give it 100px, and our toast height is 100px as well, 100px. Okay, so we have it assigned to the root, our variables, and we're calling the vars down below, and we're just going to do Command or Control S to save our work, make sure that icon is gone and none of them have it in any of your tabs. And then let's save our work in both all the files, we already did that, and refresh the browser. So let's go back here, and we're going to refresh the browser, and let's go ahead, let's see what happens. Boom, we got a toast. Oh, we got another one. And you can see that we have the margins right here, and then there's padding around the outside of it. So just to see what we did there, you can see this has padding on the top and bottom. And then we have the padding. So that padding should actually be, we'll see if we'll correct that in a little bit. But so we have our toast, and we can see it's quickly getting out of hand. Let's see if we just keep doing this here. Look what's going on. Yep, wow, we got some clip. Whoa, where'd our toaster go? That's not gonna work. So we squished our toaster, and let's instead stack them and add a flex wrap to the toasted div. So in the console, okay, let's just do it in the console then. Yeah? Stack them and add. So in the console, select view container. All right, let's see, view container, and add flex direction column. All right, so let's do this and say flex direction column. Oh, that's a little bit better. So the view container is stacking these two things, toaster and toasted. So you'll notice that the normal behavior is a row, but when we say flex direction column, it stacks everything inside of it. That's cool. And then select toasted next right there, and we're just going to say flex wrap. And there we go. We got it wrapping to the next line. It doesn't go too far out. Now let's see, let's make some more toast and see what happens here. Let's get to another row. Yay, It looks a little bit more manageable. So let's go back to our style CSS and add some of the changes that we just did. So in the view container, again, that one is near the top. The view container is above because we normally don't touch it, but sometimes we have to add some things. We have display flex. Here's 2 flex properties, and we're going to add one more. So I'm just going to add it in between. And it's flex direction column. Okay, now that that's added, we can go down to the toasted. So I'm going to scroll way down here. Remember, it was near the bottom. And we're going to say right here underneath the display flex, and we're going to say wrap right there. Now, what about the toast intensity? Because right now it's just spitting out black, and we don't want to burn all our toast. So we need to color the toast based on the intensity of the setting. So let's go back to our code.js file and add it. Note that we are multiplying the setting value by the heater base time. So we are doing that. It's right here. We can move that computation out to its own variable. What would those values be then? Our heater base is 1000. Our possible intensity settings are 1 through 5. So if we multiply the setting value by our heater base value, we get 5 new values. So we have a possible 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, and 5000. So note that we set the toast background RGB value, we can add to the 4th argument, that is the shade of the given color. So from 0 to 1, where 0 is no coloring and 1 is total coloring. So if we go down here real quick, again, 0, 0, 0 is just black, and 1 is full coloring. So if we did 0, it's not going to show up, and if we did 1, it's going to be fully black. But if we did some intensity within 0 to 1, like 0.002, we're going to get a flavor of between black and white. And so all we have to do is apply our intensity value as a total percentage of 1. So we have 5 total selections where 5000 would need to be 1 and 1000 would need to be somewhere above 0. If you remember our setting, you can't set no toast, so it has to have at least a little bit of coloring already on the first initial setting, because we want something to be toasted a little bit. So let's go to the console and explore this idea out a bit. So okay, in the browser, we're going to open up the console, and let's think about how we would get the 5000 value first, as we just need it to be equal to 1, if that makes sense. So if we multiply 5000 by a decimal number, we can shrink it down a bit. Okay, so let's try that out. Let's just explore, and that's the multiplication symbol, and we're going to do it by 1, and that's 500. Well, that's not 1. Okay, so 5000 times 0.01. What's that one? Well, that's 50. That's a lot closer than 500 was. So what if we did 5000 times, and let's just keep going here, we'll do 0.001. How about that one? Well, that's 5, and that's really close to 1. So let's go a little bit more, and we're going to say, all right, what about 5000 times 0.0001? And now we got half of 1. So we're super close now. So how about we increase our 0.0001 instead, because now we need to double that, we can just say times 0.0002. Now we've got 1. So let's look at our other numbers now, because remember, we need 0 to 1, but we need increments. And we don't need 0 actually. So we need to get 5 increments that are contained within 0 to 1. And in this case, this is 1. So this is what we want for a full color. But let's see. Let's go to the 4000. And we're going to say, all right, 4000. 0002. What do you give us? Well, you give us a 0.8. Okay, that's interesting. Let's do 3000, 0.0002. That's a 0.6. All right. How about 2000? 0.0002. 0.4. Okay. And our last one is 1000. That's our last setting. 0.0002. And that gives us a 0.2. So that's great. We are confined between our 0 and 1, and each one is progressively larger. And our lowest one isn't 0, which is what we wanted. So the first setting is a 0.2 of opacity. The second one will be 0.4. The third one, 0.6. The fourth one, 0.8. And the full toasted all the way you can is going to be 1. And that's what we need. So let's go back to our code.js file and start adding what we've come up with. All right. We have the toggle method. Let's go back up to that thing right there. And we need to move this out. So we're going to say, you know what? This right here, actually we're just going to move out the parentheses entirely. So not all of them. There's still the closing one there. And we're just going to put them up here. And we're going to say const intensity equals our value, and I'm going to open up a line here. Just take a look at that. I just moved this up here. We already have setting. That's a global. That's the setting value times our heater base time, which is 1000. And then we have intensity. So we want to put the intensity back here, right? We want to keep that there. And we also want to do one more thing. We want to pass in this intensity to the toasted. So the toasted could be like, well, now I know what to do. But does it? Doesn't know yet, does it? Because now we got to go down to the intensity. So this is going to be the intensity level. Again, it's going to be these numbers, 1000, 2000, 3000, 4000, and 5000. And we need to say, all right, we need to vary this. Now, to vary a string like this, we can do it several ways. We can do this. RGB, and then we'd say 0, 0, 0. We'd do it like this, space, and then we would say plus, and then we would have to say intensity times 0.0002, if you remember that. Now, we can do it that way, or we can use, in JavaScript, we also have this thing, and it's these little tick marks over here on the top left of your keyboard. So you see them, top left of your keyboard. And once you're in here, like this, inside of them, we can do some special things. Anything we add in here is automatically a string. And as soon as you want to do a calculation, you do $, curly braces. And you can see how that is different colored. Now we can do work in here, like the intensity. I'm just going to actually grab this and stick it in there, like this. And then of course this is gobbledygook, so let's actually do what we're supposed to do there. It's supposed to be RGB, and it's going to be 0, 0, 0, just like this. This is going to occupy the end of the string, and then the parenthesis, boom. So I'm just going to get rid of this, and let's make sure this is right. 0, 0, 0, just like this. Intensity, yes. So I'm going to take this out because we don't want to put it there, and we're going to replace it right there. So now all we're going to get is a string again with 0, 0, 0, and it's going to be, you know, super light. If it's 1000 times this, it's going to end up being, what was it? 0.2 opacity. And if it's 2000, it's going to be 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, and 1. So let's save our work here. Boom. And we're going to select each intensity level and press the levers. Let's go back over here, and we're going to hit refresh. And let's go ahead and try that. Let's see. and my intensity. Oh, I forgot to do one thing. So let's go back over there. And what did I forget? Can you grab it quick? So to stick with what we're doing, let's at least look. Reference error, intensity is not defined. If we go to the code, we can see intensity. It doesn't know what it is. It's not defined. This isn't defined, but we did define it. And where did we define it? We defined it here. So it's scoped to these brackets. Only inside of here does it know what it is. But we passed it into toasted here. This is how toasted knows about it, because we gave it to toasted. It doesn't just know willy-nilly. We have to go in there and say, hey, look, let's pass it in. And if we come down here, you'll notice we didn't pass it in here. So now it has to. Now here, the function already gets it passed in. It's the first argument. We can have 1, 2, 3. As long as they stay in this order, whatever gets passed in will be assigned to this name. So we could call it 1, and then we could put 1 here, and it'll work. But we want to call it something very similar. I just don't want you to get confused on like, how is this getting in there? It's the same word, but it's a different scope. This is scoped to here now. We're passing it in. This is the first argument. That's how it knows it. So if I passed in a second one here all of a sudden, and I said, you know what, I'm going to pass in the string 3. Well, then I need to come down here and give it a name. I could call it string 3 if I wanted to. Whatever I want to call it. And it's going to be that string that comes in there. So once again, just going over what normal programming is. All languages do it this way. And now we have the intensity. Now the toasted intensity is here, and it should know what we're talking about. So I've already made that correction. Please make this correction, and then do a Command or Control S to save, and we'll go back over to our browser, hit our console. There we go. Okay, so we just want to go ahead and start seeing what's going to go on. Oh, hey, there we go. We got something. So let's try 2. A little darker. 3. I did 2 of the first ones. So if you didn't do that, you're wondering why I got 2 that are identical. It's a little bit longer. Yep, almost there. And let's go full burn. Okay, there we go. We got our 5 flavors. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I did the extra one in the beginning. So nice work, everyone. We can see what our toaster is capable of. You know, it's all nice and good to play around with the toaster in the UI, but learning programming is really the power of automation. So let's automate our toaster. Who wants to sit here all day long clicking this lever? So in the next video, we will process a fixed list of orders for toast and let our automated toaster complete the list for us. Now, if you've enjoyed this video, click like and then subscribe buttons to get notifications of new content. Thank you for exploring programming with me, and I'll see you in the next video.